Good morning and welcome to the Daily Tanya. Today is Friday, the 26th day of Adar Bays, the second Adar. Getting ready for an exciting Shabbos of blessing the new month of Nisan, Shabbos HaChodesh, special taking out two Torahs. It's a very special, very exciting time. And let's begin with Tzedakah. Tzedakah brings Mashiach closer, and we today conclude chapter 38 in the Tanya, and we spoke about the four categories in the spiritual sense, the categories, the different types of creatures in this world. We have the Doimim, Tzemeach, Chaim, and Adar, the inanimate, the vegetation, the animal kingdom, and humans. And we explained how these four levels we have in our observance of the Torah and the Mitzvot, because after all, everything what God created was for that purpose, for serving Hashem. So when you have these levels in the world, that means we have the spiritual aspect of these levels, which relate to our service of Hashem. So we explained yesterday that we have in the action of the mitzvahs, we have two types, and we have in the Kavana of the mitzvahs, the intent of the mitzvahs, we also have two types. So the two types of the action of the mitzvahs are considered the body, and these are the mitzvahs that are like inanimate objects, and mitzvahs that are like the vegetations, things that grow. The inanimate is mitzvahs we do with action, physical action, just dry action. You do a mitzvah. God told you to put on tefillin, so you take your hand and you wrap the tefillin. The mitzvah that we do with speech and thought, those are already a mitzvah that is connected with more things that you can see that grows. It can change when you speak. You can speak cold and you can speak with passion. Those are like things that grow. Those are the mitzvahs that are connected. You do it with, like in the level of the vegetation, things that grow. And those are both the action of the mitzvahs, both in the category of the body of the mitzvah. Then you have the two levels in the Kavana of the mitzvah. And we spoke briefly yesterday. We say the two levels of the Kavana, the intent of a mitzvah. This is the levels of the animal world and the level of human. Now there's two ways of having intent, of connecting to Hashem, and the intent and the feeling of love and fear of Hashem, which is compared to the animal-like intent or human-like intent. What is the difference between animal and humans? Animals, you can have very smart animals. The Talmud tells us, the fox is the smartest of the animals. And you can see animals doing all kinds of tricks to get what they want to get. However, the animal does not have the das. The das is the connecting and making choices out of taking a conclusion, thinking about something and making a choice of changing your behavior based on that choice. That animal doesn't have. Humans have this idea, this concept of das, connecting. I mean, you're thinking, you're understanding, and you're able to appreciate what you understand so deeply that it affects your emotions. And you change, of course, you change your behavior, but then also, if you're in a stronger level of das, you're able to change not only the behavior, but also the emotion itself. And there are many different levels in that. There are people on a very high level that when they will understand godliness, when they meditate about the greatness of Hashem, it would lead them to an open, revealed passion to Hashem. Just like when you're hungry, when you're thirsty, you want to drink something, you feel it. It's not just you understand, okay, I'm thirsty, I have to get someone. You feel it, you want, the desire is so open. So that those people their desire to connect to Hashem is so revealed in the heart. Because this is a level of connecting to Hashem, that's a very high level. Then there are people who are able to understand the right thing. They have a conviction in the heart that this is the right thing. I have to do the mitzvahs because that's the only way to connect to Hashem. I know Hashem is everything. I know how small I am. But they will not feel it like openly in the heart. They just understand and they'll act based on this understanding. That's called developing in the recesses of the heart, of the mind in the heart. But this is all in the human way. So serving Hashem with this kind of intent is using the intellect and the understanding, and as a result, changing your feelings, or at least the conviction in the heart. But then there are people who are not able to do that. You're not capable. You think, you study, you understand, you can be smart, you understand it, but it doesn't affect you at all. So, nevertheless, people like that also have a way to connect to Hashem, and that is in the animal-like intention. What is it? Just like an animal, they have their instinct, the inborn instinct, what God created them. Each animal their own way, all type of different characters animals have. There is the instinct, there is the innate love, the natural love that is in us, that is an inheritance from our ancestors, as we learned in the earlier chapters. Those are the instincts that we have, and on a regular basis we don't sense them. But when push comes to shove and a person, God forbid, his spiritual life is in danger, he feels he's about to get disconnected from Hashem, he's going to give up his life for that. Not that he's thinking about it, but it's something very deep inside him. So that is the innate love that we have. And when you have Kavana, when you do a mitzvah, and you at least have this type of thinking about the natural love that we have to Hashem, and that leads you to do the mitzvah, that is serving Hashem. And the Kavana is an animal-like Kavana. That's why he calls it the animal-like Kavana, because it's not something that you create out of your understanding. It is something that is in there, in you. It's inborn in you by nature. Nevertheless, we got to work on it. So each one needs to work step after step. But regardless of what level we are, we know that innate love we all have. All we have to do is to think about it, to remind ourselves about this love, and that will help us to serve Hashem, each one in their own way. And of course, each one keeps growing. We're humans, we keep growing day to day. So let's see inside what the Alter Rebbe says. So the Alter Rebbe is going to explain the two different levels of Kavana. So he begins with the higher level. Says the Alter Rebbe, Ki mi shedaita yafa, lo da'as es Hashem, u'lo yizboinen b'gdolasa yizbarach. The first level is that of a person discerning enough to know God and to reflect on His greatness. U'lo hoilid mi binasa yira ila'a b'moicha, ve'avas Hashem b'chol ala yemoni shebelibay. And to create out of his understanding a lofty fear in his mind, and a love of God in the right part of his heart, which is the seat of the divine soul's emotions. so that his soul thirsts for God, seeking to cleave to him. This by understanding the greatness of Hashem, you develop a feeling that you want to cleave to Hashem. And how is it done? The only way to do it is to fulfilling God's Torah and mitzvahs. By fulfilling the Torah and mitzvahs, which are the extension and illumination of the Ein Sof light upon one's soul, by which one may cleave to him. So when you have this Kavana, ובכוונה זו הוא לימד ומקיים המצווה זכם בכוונה זו מספלל ומבורך. When he studies Torah and fulfills the mitzvahs, it is with this kavana, this intent, and likewise, when he prays and recites blessings, it is this kavana of cleaving to God, whose greatness he has come to understand. That type of kavana, that is called a human-like soul. Such kavana is analogous to the soul of a human being who possesses intelligence and freedom of choice, and who speaks with wisdom. For such kavana is likewise based on intellect and choice. So this is the level of the person who has the ability to reach that kavana, to connect to Hashem through his understanding, developing the feeling and the emotions in his heart or in his brain. However, then there are people who are not capable of doing it. The second level of kavana is that of a person whose understanding is too limited to know and to reflect on the greatness of the blessed Ein Sof. So as to create out of his understanding a revealed love in his heart, and also awe in his mind and dread of God in his heart. His level of understanding is inadequate to create a palpable spiritual emotions. So what does he have? What does everyone have? It is the natural innate love that is hidden in his heart. He merely recalls and arouses the natural love hidden in his heart. And he brings it out. He brings it out of concealment in his heart to a state of consciousness, at least in his mind at least. Even if he cannot arouse a revealed feeling of love in his heart, surely he can summon it to mental consciousness. In other words, to understand in his mind. Sometimes you cannot feel the feeling of love and fear of Hashem, but you understand that this is the right thing. That is what I want to do. I want to be connected to Hashem. So that his will in his mind and in the recesses of his heart should approve and consent with complete willingness and perfect sincerity to surrender his life in martyrdom, in actual fact, not merely as a figure of speech, for his affirmation of the unity of God, rejecting belief in any other divinity. So when we know this, we know we have this innate love, that if, God forbid, our faith comes in question, we will be ready to give our life up for this, because we want to be connected to Hashem. In order to attach to Him, His divine soul, and its garments of thought, speech, and action, and to unite them with His unity, which is identical to the supernal will that is clothed in Torah, study, and performance of the mitzvahs, as explained above. So like martyrdom, that one undergoes out of love of God, study of Torah and performance of mitzvahs unite the soul with God. Therefore, once arousal of his natural love of God to the point where he's prepared to offer his life for God's unity, will also motivate him to fulfill the Torah mitzvahs. Out of love of Hashem, continues the Alter Rebbe, and says not only the love, the fear is also included. Fear of Hashem, the awe of Hashem. You're fearful of losing that connection, like you're fearful of losing a loved one. You're fearful to lose the connection with Hashem. And so you don't want to rebel against Hashem. This natural love also comprises fear of God, acceptance of His dominion, so as not to rebel against Him, God forbid, through sin. So when you do a mitzvah, and you do it with Kavana, with intent, that you want to connect to Hashem, you don't want to lose the connection with Hashem, and that mitzvah creates that connection. So even if that Kavana is just a natural Kavana, the Kavana about the natural love that you have, not something that you developed out of your contemplation of God. But when you do the mitzvah using that Kavana, this is the animal-like Kavana. When motivated by this Kavana, which is born of his innate love and fear of God, one turns away from evil by refraining from sin, and does good by observing the mitzvahs, and studies, prays, and recites the blessings. And thinking merely of the meaning of the words, without conscious love and fear of God in his heart and mind, which would lend emotional intensity to his prayer. Lacking revealed love and fear, he prays only with the meaning of the words. So when one fulfills the Torah in this manner, then his intent is like the soul of an animal that doesn't have the choice, doesn't have the intellect. He's not creating the emotions out of the intellect, but out of the innate instinct and natural love that you have. This level of Kavana is analogous to the soul of an animal, which possesses neither intelligence nor freedom of choice. וכל מידויסov שאין ירוסוי מדבורים המזיקים אצלוי, ואהבוסוי לדבורים הנאובים אצלוי, אין רק טבעיים אצלוי, ולא מבינוסוי ודייתי. And whose emotions, but animals and emotions, its fear of harmful things and its love of pleasing things are merely natural to it, not a product of its intelligence or understanding. So too, by way of example, are the natural love and fear hidden in the heart of every Jew. They too are not a product of intelligence or choice, but it's a natural thing. כי הן ירושו לנו מאבייסנו, כמו טבע בנפשנו כנזכר להם. For they are our inheritance from our patriarchs, and are like a natural instinct in our souls, as mentioned above in chapter 18. But this is the end of this chapter, and yes, we got a better understanding, and let's start doing the mitzvah. Important to invest in the mitzvah, what we do, the kavana, the intent, even if it's just the animal-like kavana. But the kavana helps us more, and then we'll explain further in the next chapters. Have a wonderful day and a good Shabbos.